Your body was built for a world that no longer exists. It was engineered to hoard fat, crave sugar, and store every spare calorie like it might be your last meal. For nearly 300,000 years, almost nobody who lived with that body was actually fat. How is that possible? Think about that for a second. The exact biology that makes weight gains so easy for you today kept your ancestors lean for hundreds of thousands of years. Something doesn't add up. Or does it? Let's rebuild the world that built you. Start with movement. Exercise? No, movement. Anthropologist Herman Pontzer spent years with the Hadza, a hunter-gatherer community in Tanzania. Daily life still resembles that of ancient foragers. He expected their bodies to burn dramatically more energy than modern office workers. He was wrong. Using a technique called doubly labeled water, which tracks exactly how many calories a body burns over time, Pontzer found something strange. The Hadza burned roughly the same total calories per day as adults in the United States and Europe. So if they weren't burning more, why weren't they gaining weight? The answer wasn't the quantity of movement. It was the constancy of it. A modern life is built around bursts. You sit for hours, then you exercise hard for 40 minutes, then you sit again. Ancient life had no such pattern. Walking to find water, digging for tubers, climbing for honey, carrying children on your hip for miles, butchering an animal. None of it was a workout, all of it was simply Tuesday. Now picture the food itself. There was no aisle of options, no shelf-stable snacks sitting quietly at 400 calories a handful. Food had to be found, and finding it cost energy. A single calorie of wild yam might take real physical effort to dig out of hard, dry earth. A calorie of honey might mean climbing a tree while angry bees defended it with their lives. Every calorie was earned before it was eaten. Here's where it gets interesting. Modern nutrition science has a term for foods engineered to bypass your body's natural fullness signals. Hyperpalatable foods. That means food combining sugar and salt in ratios that essentially don't exist in nature. Your ancestors never encountered anything like it. There was no combination of ingredients on the savannah that could make you eat past fullness the way a bag of chips can tonight. Their appetite regulation system, the one you inherited, evolved in a world where overeating was almost never physically possible because energy-dense food that concentrated was simply rare. That's the first piece. Movement without exercise, food without abundance. Now add scarcity itself. Bioarchaeologist Amanda Mummert and her colleagues studied skeletal remains from populations transitioning out of hunting and gathering into early agriculture and found a consistent pattern. A drop. Bone density suffered, and signs of nutritional stress increased. For early humans, it wasn't a steady buffet. It was feast, then famine, then feast again. Seasons of abundance were followed by seasons of real hunger. Your body's tendency to store fat easily wasn't a flaw. It was insurance. It was the only retirement plan available to a species that couldn't predict next week's weather. Picture it directly. You are standing at the edge of a dry grassland at dusk, roughly 60,000 years ago. The heat of the day is fading into an orange sky. You've walked nearly 9 miles since sunrise, first to a watering hole, then following the tracks of a wounded antelope your group spotted hours earlier. Your children are with you, carried and coaxed along the way. There is no car waiting. There is no refrigerator humming at home. Dinner exists only if the group finds it, and finding it has already cost most of the day's energy. When you finally eat, your body doesn't just enjoy the meal. It clings to it, converting the surplus into fat with an efficiency that will keep you alive if tomorrow brings nothing at all. That craving for fat and sugar you feel today, it's the same ancient circuitry. It just used to come with a built-in cost that made it nearly impossible to overuse. Now here's the twist, and it's the part almost nobody expects. It wasn't willpower keeping your ancestors lean. They didn't have more discipline than you. Given the exact same environment you live in now, most researchers agree they would gain weight just as easily as anyone alive today. The Tsimane, a horticulturalist population in Bolivia studied extensively by researcher Michael Gervin, show remarkably low rates of obesity and heart disease compared to industrialized populations, despite genetics that aren't meaningfully different from yours. The difference was never the person. It was always the environment. That single fact changes everything. Obesity historically wasn't rare because ancient people were stronger-willed. It was rare because their world made restraint automatic. Every single layer, the walking, the earning of calories, the absence of concentrated sugar and fat, the unpredictability of food supply, worked together without anyone having to think about it or resist anything at all. Now look at your own life. You wake up and food is already there. No walking required, no digging, no waiting for a hunt to succeed. Convenience has replaced difficulty at nearly every step you take, and it happened faster than your biology could possibly adjust to it. Evolutionary biologist Daniel Lieberman calls this kind of gap a mismatch, when the environment changes far faster than the body evolving inside it. Your cravings aren't broken. Your fat storage system isn't malfunctioning. Both are working exactly the way they were designed to, in a world that no longer requires that design. So what do you do with that? You stop blaming yourself for a body doing precisely what it evolved to do, and then you get curious about closing the gap instead. Not through extremes, not through guilt, but by rebuilding pieces of that ancient constancy on purpose. Movement scattered through the day instead of crammed into one session, meals that require some preparation rather than instant reward, and periods where food isn't always immediately within reach. None of it needs to look like hunting and gathering. It just needs to reintroduce a little of the friction your body still expects. Because here's the real reframe. Your ancestors weren't fighting their biology. They were living inside a world that matched it perfectly. You're not weaker than they were. You're simply living somewhere that no longer matches the body you were given. Your body wasn't built to survive a vending machine. It was built to survive scarcity. And the moment you understand that, everything about how you eat, move, and think about your weight starts to look completely different.